Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Ron here, and I am super excited to be with you here on Wednesday. Um, on this software that I use, StreamYard, which is really cool. It's a pretty cool product. They just keep adding more features, and they recently added background music, which I absolutely love. So I don't know if that's annoying or not, but I like it. It's pretty cool. I like that song. And I am excited to meet with you here today. And if you're here today, I hope you'll join me in the conversation a little bit. Don't just make me just be like a talking head. Nobody likes that. It's much better to have a conversation. And the way that we can do that, you can always just comment in whatever group you're in. Just put a comment, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, in one of the groups on Facebook or wherever, and it'll pop up here. But even better than that, if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, as you see in the little scrolly thing, and yes, that's a technical term, little scrolly thing down at the bottom. But if you do that, then your name will pop up when you comment, and I'll be able to comment back. And that's kind of a nice thing. So I wanted to get on with you for just a few minutes today and share with you, we started a couple of weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago, talking about the home buyer problem when it comes to new construction. And there are actually a number of them. There's 7 big home buyer problems that new construction buyers report having when it comes to building a house or when they're thinking about building a house. And one of the things we discovered early on, that I discovered first, now we're all discovering it together, but initially when I was a realtor with Coldwell Banker, and I started finding out, wow, there's a lot of buyers who are financially qualified to build a new home or buy a brand new home, and they really, really want to, but they're not doing it. They're like running in the other direction because in their perspective, in their experience, it is too doggone difficult. It's too stinking hard. Yes, I said stinking. And it's difficult. It feels risky for buyers when they want to build a new house. And, a lot of times we don't realize this sitting on this side of it as a realtor or even as a builder or mortgage loan officer, mortgage broker, land developer. We're in the business. We're in some aspect of the business. And we don't a lot of times recognize the scope and the size of the problems that the buyers have. And it's a shame because this is a huge swath of the home buyer population that want to build a new house or buy a brand new home. And they have, for the most part, have been overlooked. And it's not anybody's intent. We've just kind of missed it. Well, that problem and those problems are actually your opportunity. And when you step into this and you start to see it from a little bit different perspective, you will see that, oh my word, number one, it is fundamentally broken. It's not a little bit broken. It is a lot broken when it comes to the buyer experience of building a new home. That the new construction buyer journey is a mess. And so that's one thing you see. Good morning, Facebook user. Tell me who you are, Facebook user, so I don't call you Facebook user because that's kind of rude. Glad you're here. But when we start to discover this gap between where the buyers are and what we have missed as realtors, and that there's not only a lot of people who want to build a house, they're financially qualified to build a house, but they're scared, they're nervous, and with good reason. And that's really what we're talking about these next few weeks. It's what we started on a couple of weeks ago. And I'm talking about the third problem today, the third out of 7 that we count as the big 7 problems that new construction buyers experience when they're trying to build a new home. And the interesting thing about it is that when when you got into real estate, you probably didn't, maybe you got into it and just, hey, I just want a little side gig. I just want, if I make, a couple $100 every month, but that's not where most people are. Most people are in it to do a business and to grow a business and to grow a recognized brand for yourself where you are respected, where you are sought out for your leadership, where you're valued and where you're making money. Am I right? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, tell me yes or no, or tell me, if I'm wrong. But most people, when you got into real estate, you did it because you wanted to grow a business for yourself so you could make the money that you want to make and be able to support yourself, support your business, support your loved ones, and grow that. And if you were like me, a lot of us got into it, and all of a sudden your eyes get opened up. You're going, oh my gosh, there is a lot of realtors. And yeah, there are. In fact, that was way back when. You can tell by my gray hair, when I started was 2001. And there was a lot of realtors then. There's a lot of realtors now. And in fact, I think NAR just came out with something here in July, maybe, or in August, saying from June to July, the number of realtors increased by 17,000 across the United States, 17,000 more realtors. So there's a lot of people that want to walk through houses and do open houses and sell houses. And the problem is that everybody is kind of doing the same thing as everybody else. There is very, very little differentiation from one realtor to the next, to the next, to the next. Now, I know we don't feel that way. If you're in the business, I know that, I do something different than Joe, and I do something different than Janice, and I do something, I got the secret handshake, or I got the, great haircut, or whatever it is. But in the eyes of the buyers and sellers and the general public, we're kind of all the same. They see us as interchangeable and commodities, where if, hey, I don't like one realtor's personality, or if they tell me that something I don't want to hear, goodbye. Because I've got a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law and a neighbor next door and somewhere on the block over, they're all realtors, and so it becomes difficult for us as realtors to rise above that noise. And the fastest way of rising above the noise, the fastest way to get to where good morning, Karen. Good morning. I see you. I'm glad you're here. We need to catch up soon. A lot of stuff to catch up on with everybody. But, one of the fastest ways to really kind of come into your own and rise above the noise of all the other 20,000 or whatever realtors in your market is to niche. It's just to niche. And so that's one thing, and there are a lot of different things you can niche in. Our thing here is new construction, because new construction is absolutely amazing. Once you get it and you have the pattern down and you understand how to go after it, imagine, going after a builder, going after a listing, let's say, where once you have the listing sold, you don't go out and start looking for another listing, because you got a client now where you do one or two listings for that one client, that client being a builder or a land developer, and all of a sudden they go, hey, Karen, I got 20 more, could you go ahead and take care of these for us? That's really what we're talking about, is creating a partnering relationship with builders and developers where you're able to serve them over and over and over again at a much higher level, because you get to know the way they work, you get to know the way they operate, what their strengths or weaknesses are, and you're just providing way, way more value. So when it comes to finding your voice, one thing is to begin to niche down. And as I said, new construction is an amazing place to niche down. The other thing, though, you can do, even within new construction or anything else, is to begin to identify the problems in that space And this is true of anything that you were going to specialize in. If you wanted to be you wanted to looking for a book here. I was going to show you guys. If you wanted to sell wine, right? And I want to be a wine distributor. One of the first things you would do is you look for the gaps in the market, look for the problems and the spaces in that wine market, right? There's a really interesting, fascinating book. It is not a fast read. It is a study, in my opinion. If you're ever interested in this, called Blue Ocean Strategy. I've got it around here someplace on my desk, but I'm not seeing it. But Blue Ocean Strategy, very interesting. But one of the things that this and other niche type books that where I'm studying, how do we grow a niche? How do you become a category king in your market? Well, fortunately, when it comes to new construction, this is not that hard to do. It's really not. Everybody thinks that, oh my gosh, man, doing new construction, that's going to be a bear. Those builders, they're tough to get along with, and they don't like realtors. And, we got all these kind of bad messages, these bad mojo vibes going on in our head. I really need to be a more tenured realtor. I need to have a bigger team. I need to be a part of a big team. I got to have a big marketing budget. I got to be married to a builder, or someplace in be the builder's brother or cousin or son-in-law or daughter-in-law. It's not true. It's just not true. None of it is true. Here is what is true. Okay. Builders want to work with realtors. They also want, and they will work with all the realtors. You bring a buyer, if they're paying commission to anybody, they'll pay commission to you. All right. But what is missing overall from the builder's experience is realtors that really are genuinely focused in new construction and building a practice there. So anyway, I'm off track as I do. So we're talking about today the 7 big problems that new construction buyers have. And what I started to say is, when you step into any one of these problems, you pick one of these problems and you begin to make some inroads, and you will find very quickly that you are like one of the only realtors in your market that are making inroads on that problem. And when it comes to new construction buyers, there are 7 of them. Okay. It's actually more than that, but we're going to focus on 7. And all you have to do is pick 1 or 2 of those problems and go, you know what? I recognize that problem. I'm going to change that problem. And one of the things that you can do too, that one of my mentors is always preaching to me, is evangelize the problem. First time I heard that, it's like, what does that mean even? What do you mean evangelize the problem? Talk about the problem. Talk about the problem. Talk about the problems that new construction buyers have. And I was like, why would I want to do that? Well, because all the other realtors are dancing around it, are sidestepping, are running around it, and avoiding the fact that there are these big issues. So when you begin to talk about the fact that there are some issues when it comes to building a house, all of a sudden, and this is true whether you're talking to buyers about it or whether you're talking to builders about it, builders or developers, when you begin to talk about the problem, identify the problems, begin to talk about them, evangelize the problem, you are seen as the game changer, because everybody else knows that the problems are there, but we don't want to talk about it. We just kind of slide it under the rug, and hope it doesn't come up. No. You are the game changer. You're the thought leader, okay? You're moving towards, and when you start to do this, you're going to find that very, very quickly you can move ahead of everybody else in your market when it comes to new construction. I don't care if you are in a Dallas market. I don't care if you're in a Nashville, or if you're in a big or small city. There are very, very few realtors, and we might touch on that today a little bit. So I'll try to, but there are very few realtors that are really evangelizing the problem. So anyway, so we said there's 7 problems, seven big problems that new construction buyers have. 2 weeks ago, we started on the first one. Does anybody know what the first one is? The first one is that buyers, when it comes to building a new home, new construction buyers cannot find the neighborhoods. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There is a video that's in this group, or it's in either one of these groups, and maybe on LinkedIn as well. You can find them there. But the first problem is that about 70% of new home neighborhoods are not listed. They're not on the MLS. And so, if we assume that they are, first, that assumption is really wrong. And it is not something we should ever purport to a buyer. If we're working with a buyer, well, here, let's just go look at the MLS. Here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Here's the 3 neighborhoods that are available to you that meet your criteria, because there are generally a lot more that nobody seems to know about. You just got to know it's there. And it's always interesting to me when I got into this and I really started diving into new construction. And I started seeing that a lot of the sweet land deals, this 5-acre parcel that's beautifully located, and this 3-acre parcel, and this one's that's got a river that runs through it, were being snatched up by a lot of realtors. I was like, that's interesting. Or builders. Okay. But somebody that's in the trade, somebody that's on the supplier side, the professional side, and we found this land deal or this, great opportunity that nobody else seemed to notice. I thought that was interesting. And the deeper I got into it, I was like, man, there are so many neighborhoods and small communities that are available that are not on the MLS. And so that's problem number 1, is that the buyers can't find those neighborhoods. Problem number 2 is that the buyers don't know who the builders are in any given market. Oh, on the first one, by the way, I've jotted this down. It's about 70%, or close to. In some cases, some markets I talk to, brokerages will say, hey, in our market, I can tell you it's over 70% of the neighborhoods that are missing from the multiple listing service. Okay, so go back and watch that video if you get a chance. The second problem that buyers have is they don't know the builder options, and this is a big one. Okay, because about 80% of builders and developers, especially small and mid-sized builders and developers, don't have either any web presence or not much of a web presence, and not adequate web presence. So maybe they've got a little website, but it's it's not getting traffic, or they're not getting leads, they're not getting conversions, and so this is a big problem. Add to that the buyers don't really understand, in a lot of cases builders don't either, or I'm sorry, realtors don't either. That the buyers don't understand not only who are my options, but what are the differences between this one, this one, this one, and this one. All builders are not the same, right? They use different quality of products. They have different experience levels. They do a different type of quality work. It's a different buyer experience if you're working with one builder versus another. It's different even if you're going after a production, you're working with one of the big public builders, and you're buying a home in a production neighborhood versus a semi-custom builder versus a custom builder. And I know you guys know, but you wouldn't believe how many realtors, and it's not anybody's fault, it's nobody's fault, but a lot of realtors don't understand some of these basic things that we need to understand. Okay, if I want to be a fiduciary, if I want to be a guide in new construction, I need to understand the neighborhoods, the builders, the different types of builders. So problem number 3, this is what we're going to get into today. I'm going to fly through this really quick. Hope you get a few good notes about it. Please, if you're here, comment to me. If you got a question, something you disagree with, just spit it out there. I'd rather have a conversation than me just talking on my own. So problem number 3. Okay, first is neighborhood, second is builder, number 3 is you. Well, us. Okay, buyers, new construction buyers, very typically, almost always, will say, I cannot find the realtor or realtors who specialize in new construction. Hello? Because Here's what's interesting, in fact, a lot of times when we first started doing that, when we first started getting into new construction and created Hoodle, um, and still I have buyers that will reach out to me on the website and say, I've been looking for this for years. I've had buyers that say, every time we move, we want to build a new house, in all the places we go, and we can't find a realtor and who specializes in new construction. So good morning, Maria. It's good to see you in Ohio. We need to catch up soon and hear how everything's going for you out in Ohio. So glad you're here. So in fact, when I started really understanding this and started to talk to buyers about what are the biggest, what's their experience, what's kept them from building a new home, or if they did build a new home or bought a brand new home, what were the problems with it? And one of the biggest things they always report is, trying to find a realtor who knows anything about new construction, who specializes in new construction. And that's kind of fascinating, is it? Because what a lot of them would say is, I've had many times where people have told me this very similar story where, we want to build a house, we reach out to a realtor, say, hey, we'd like help building a new home, and realtors are convincing them not to do it. So persuading them, hey, don't build. It's too hard. The market's not right for it. It's whatever it is, It's you do that in your later years. All right, here's a house over here. Let's go get this. This will be easier. And so they're persuading them not to, or I don't know if the word would be dissuading. Is that a word, Maria? Dissuading, but they're persuading the buyers not to build not because it's bad for the buyer, but because the realtor that they've talked to doesn't know much about it. And, I really find with realtors that they fall into, when it comes to new construction, they kind of fall into realtors who are not doing new construction. The majority of realtors are not doing, they fall into two camps. Okay. There are realtors, if they're not specialized in new construction, which most aren't, they fall into two different camps. One is, I'll do a new construction sale with a buyer if I absolutely have to. Okay. If that's the only thing and I'm going to lose the buyer, they want new construction, I'll do it. And others, they'll say, well, I'll do it if I can. I'll do any one that I can find, but I'm not going out of my way to look for them. But we started getting into this, and I started to study new construction buyers, and we spent a lot of time really diving deep, and still do for years, into who the new construction buyer is. And you've heard me say, I'm sure, in one of these talks, that new construction buyers are different than pre-owned buyers, pre-owned home buyers. They're different. The buyer journey is different, and the buyer is different. Well, we're not going to get into great detail on this today, but here's a couple things that you can think about that you need to be aware of when it comes to new construction buyers. New construction buyers generally have a little bit more money to spend. They are affluent, and so they want to buy what they want to buy. They have more money to spend, and if they want a man cave, or they want whatever they want, they want a bump out in the master bedroom. They want 10-foot ceilings instead of 8-foot ceilings. They want whatever they want. They want special type of cabinets or floor or whatever it is they want. They generally have a little bit more. They may not have enough to build, built more mansion, but they have more money to spend in most cases, and they've thought about it for a long time, and they want to know what their options are. Now, stick with me on this, okay? A new construction buyer, they tend to be more affluent. They also tend to be a little bit higher educated. A lot of times they've gone to college, and they fall into a lot of different categories, but the main two is, a young family that is growing, and maybe they're growing their careers, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, they tend to be people who the kids are gone now, and so they're empty nesters, and they've cashed out of their career, they've retired, or they're close to retirement, and they've got the money, and they want to build their dream home finally. Okay, so young, growing careers, and at the end of the careers, and they've got it goes the whole spectrum when it comes to new construction, because about 60% of buyers, of all home buyers of any category, say that they would rather have a new home than a used home. So there's a huge number of people that want a new home, and one of the biggest problems is they can't find a realtor who specializes in it, which is just kind of shocking, really. I mean, because you think, man, you can't spit without find another realtor. I mean, there's realtors all over the place, and but yet when it comes to new construction, not so much. And when you think about the new construction buyer, they are stepping into something that they've never done before, building a new home. Many of them talk about it like it's a life experience. Like when they got married, or got married the first time, when they got married, or when they had their first child, they didn't know what to expect. It's the same thing with a new house. When you're building a new home, you don't know what to expect. It feels risky. It feels very strange, and you want to have a guide who's going to lock arms with you, hold hands with you, and walk you through that process. Somebody that can say, hey, my name is Maria, I specialize in new homes. You don't have to tell them you know everything about it, because guess what? You never will. None of us ever do. The deeper you get into it, but very, very quickly, when you declare, and so I tell all the realtors, if you want to do new construction, one of the first things to do is decide it. Secondly, declare it. And I mean, write it down and speak it out into the air, speak it to the people you're talking to. I specialize in new construction. That's what I do. I don't know everything about it. I've got a lot to learn, but if you want to build a new home, that's what I do, and I can help you do it. And I will walk you through that process from beginning to end. Okay? Because that is not the experience that most buyers are getting with realtors. Most buyers, they can't, so what's strange about it too is that you can go right now to virtually any brokerage website in your market and pull it up, and you'll see new construction. You can go to many realtors pages, their private pages, and you'll see new construction, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that they specialize in new construction. It means maybe that they, you know, so I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But new construction buyers, they want a fiduciary. They want a guide. They want, they're used to being able to afford a little bit more. I used to say opinionated. I don't think it's opinionated, but they want what they want, and they definitely want to know their options. Wouldn't you? I mean, if you're going to build a new house, if any of us are, I want to know that I picked the right neighborhood to build it in. If there were 10 more neighborhoods that I wasn't being shown just because it wasn't convenient, that's probably not a very good place to be, right? If there was 5 more builders or 3 more builders that might meet my personal criteria better because of the quality products they're using, the pricing, where they build, or something else, I want to know who those 3 builders are, right? And if we as realtors don't know who the builders are, where the neighborhoods are, and from a buyer standpoint, they can't find that, but they can't find you. They can't find a realtor who actually says, I specialize in new construction. I don't know it all. There's a lot to learn, but that's what I do. And if you're thinking about building a house, I absolutely can walk you through that process and would love to do that. And so one of the things I think you do, if you want to specialize in new construction, is you begin to write a little bit of a script about that you're going to be able to not to read, but to speak from your heart, about the way you want to work, the way that I work with new construction buyers. And if you need help with that, if you need help with any of this, reach out to me. I'll show you how to do it and can help you with it. But a new construction buyer, they want a fiduciary. They want a guide. They have a little bit more money to spend generally. They want to know their options. And one of the things that they're very focused on when they study new construction buyers, and there's not a lot of research out there strictly about new construction buyers. There's some that's very, very good and it's dated. And we've been through it with the authors of that. But But one of the things you'll find about new construction buyers is they're very concerned about quality. They want to know their options. They want to know that they got a quality neighborhood, that they got a safe neighborhood. They're working with a quality builder that's using quality products. Guess what else they want quality from? Come on, come on. They want quality relationship with their guide, with their realtor, somebody who actually knows. So let me give you a couple numbers here, and then we'll kind of get through this. I mean, how hard can it be to find a realtor? But here's a couple numbers that you need to know. Let's break out the numbers here. So all in all, 79% of new home transactions across the United States, so just round that up to 80 because it's easy to remember, 80% of new home transactions, there is a realtor involved in one side or the other. Maybe it's a listing side, maybe it's a buyer side, but 80% or 79% across the board, new construction, there's a realtor involved. Now you might go, well, Ron, you just told me that there aren't enough realtors to go around. Well, wait a second, okay? Most of those sales that are happening are not, a realtor who's doing new construction, new construction, new construction. Most of those 80% of new construction sales that are happening are with a realtor that is doing one or, basically one or less new construction transactions a year. And when we started to get into this, and I started to study the solds, just new construction solds in a given city, and we started with cities like Dallas and Houston and Tampa and Orlando and Nashville and on, and Detroit, and we started to look at, and we've done this multiple years in lots of different cities, where I will look at all of the new construction that was sold in that city that year based on the MLS, okay, and pull down all the data, and every single one of them, I kid you not, is always the same. It's always the same. But let's say in a given city, there's 5,000 new construction homes that were sold in that year, and I can pull down the spreadsheet of all the solds and look at the realtors who sold them, and line by line by line, and I do it as a spreadsheet, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, okay, this person sold one, that person sold one, that person sold one, and then every once in a while there's one that sold. Oh, Joanne sold two, and then one. Oh, Sam sold three. Okay, but most of all those sales are a realtor that sold one a year. Okay, and unfortunately, if I'm just selling one a year, probably not as much of a new construction specialist as I could be, right? And then, but here's the other part of it that's really fascinating, is in every city, you'll find 5 or 10 that are just like cleaning up, that are doing 40, 50, 60 or more new home transactions. And what's even more fascinating, you go to study those realtors and go, start to look at what they're doing, and they're not doing anything, at least visibly, a whole lot different. But they figured some things out, and we figured it out. Now I'm teaching realtors how to do this. It really is about the approach that you take with the buyer, with the builder, with the developer. But I digress. So 79%, 4 out of 5 transactions, there's a realtor involved, but those realtors are not specialized in new construction. And so there's very few realtors. Now, if you go ask the builders, and I think this is a good thing to do, if you go ask the builders sometime, go start interviewing builders and go to builders in your market, tell them, hey, you'd like to meet with them to learn more about their company and what they build. I specialize in new construction, or I'm starting to specialize in new construction, and I really would like to know about your product, Mr. Builder or Mrs. Builder. We'd love to get together and learn more about what you do and what type of buyers are going to be best suited for what you build, because that's what I specialize in. Okay, and I would write a script around that if I were you. Okay, and when you go out and start meeting with them, I teach realtors how to do 4 or 5 different types of interviews with builders and developers. And a big part of stepping into this role as a new construction specialist is learning how to interview, not to go out and pitch, not to close, not to sell, not to, what do I got to do to get a listing, but go out there to learn. Forget the transaction, focus on the relationship. Let go of the listing for a minute, focus on learning. Here's another thing. Stop focusing on the biggest builders, which we all tend to do. Start focusing on the small and mid-sized builders. Okay. It's an easier opportunity for you. Okay. And when you do this, one of the conversations, I say interviews, but it's just, just a conversation that you're going to have with builders that I love doing and would love for you to do. And when you do this, you'll be thanking me later. You'll be calling me back going, oh my word, it changes your perspective. But one of the conversations and interviews that I recommend you do is, I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of like interviewing the builder about their perspective on realtors. So, you're going to go out and you're going to meet with the builder and you talk to them first about, what they build. And then, you get through that, and that's a whole conversation. And, once you've learned a little bit about their company and what they build, you come to this point in your conversation, you say, hey, John's the builder. Hey, John, let me ask you something. I'd like to know a little bit about your experience with realtors. What's that been like? And there's actually 8 or 9 or 10 questions. I think I've got a 10-question interview. I don't get them all asked, but I've got 10 questions that I ask in that one little conversation, your experience with realtors, that is elucidating. It is enlightening. It's like an aha moment when you do this and you start doing it, and you do it 4 or 5 or 6 times, then do it 10 times. You will talk differently. You will approach the conversation, you'll approach the relationship completely different than 99.9% of all the other realtors in your market, because they have not done it, because they're dodging the problem, right? We're going to step into the problem. We're going to evangelize the problem. Okay. And one of the problems is realtors don't know well how to work with builders and developers. We don't. Okay. We don't get it. And so we do kind of things wrong. But I love having this conversation with them, and I won't go into the whole thing. If you want that list of those questions, reach out to me afterwards, and I've got them typed up. I think I've got them in a Google Doc. I can share with you the whole interview of that, and there's even a video on here someplace about how to do that interview. But there's 2 questions in particular at the very end of that 8 or 10 question conversation I love to ask, and one of them is this. After I've said, tell me about your experience with realtors, and there's a lot of learning that goes on in this, okay, and be prepared that you may hear some things that you didn't want to hear about their perspective on their experience with realtors, but it's better to hear it than to not, okay, and there's incredible value in that. We'll talk about it in a couple weeks, but one of the last questions I ask them is, I like to say, well, John, let me ask you something. Thank you for sharing all that with me. And John, let me ask you, how many realtors would you say in our market actually specialize in new construction and home building? And then shut up. As they say, the next guy to speak loses, okay? Just be quiet, listen, and watch what they say, because typically what they'll say, and I've seen this over and over again, is they go like this. Or they might go like this, They're like, and I had one builder that said, Ron, I could count them on, less than both hands and both feet. So, we're talking markets where there's 19,000 realtors, or 9,000, or 20,000, or whatever. And in the builder's purview, in their perspective, there's 5 that specialize in new construction. What? And, and we can say, but wait a second, I know this realtor and that realtor and the other realtor's doing some new construction. But we better pay attention to the buyers. In this case, the ones who are buying our service is the builder and land developer. They are the customer. They are the prospect. We better pay attention to their perspective. And if they think that there's only 5 that specialize in new construction, I mean, what are your first impressions of that? If a builder told you there's, hey Karen, yeah, I think there's, maybe 9 realtors that specialize in new construction. Hey Maria, yeah, I'm glad you asked. I think there's only 4 or 5 that I can think of that specialize in new construction. I mean, what would your first response be? What do you feel now? If a builder told you, you're in a big market or a mid-sized market, and they said, yeah, there's only 4 realtors that I know of that specialize in new. What would your response be to that? Come on, it's not hypothetical. It happens all the time. And now, if you're like me, you'd be going, dude, okay, what do I got to do to be number 5, right? Because if I'm in a market where there's 60% of the, exactly, exactly. Karen says, I better get on it. Yeah, exactly. And, we have this belief that, oh, that market is covered because I can drive by a big neighborhood and see that it's got listing signs out in front of it. But in the builder's mind, in the builder's purview, there's only a handful that actually specialize in new construction. This is a powerful question to ask. And, and reach out to me and I'll send you the other ones because it really begins to change your whole conversation and your confidence in the way that you're approaching new construction. But absolutely, if they're going, well, yeah, there's only 4 or 5 that I would say specialize in new homes. It's like, okay, here's the other question that I like to ask. And I hope you're writing these down. These are where the money is. Okay. I'm telling you, these are where the money is. You go out and the money is not in knowing it though. It's going out and implementing it, just going out and doing it. And it's so easy to do. It's so fun and enjoyable. But the other big question out of the 10 that I think this is the last question that I ask most builders when I'm doing this conversation is I'll ask them, John, what would you look for? Let me ask you this. Thank you for sharing all this with me. What would you say if I ask, what do you look for in a realtor that you would want to partner with? If there was a realtor that existed in our market who you wanted to do business with and you wanted to do ongoing business with, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you would look for in that type of a realtor? What would you say? And again, be quiet and be ready to take some notes, okay? Because this is golden. It is golden because they are telling you exactly who they want to do business with, and and you do that 4, 5, or 10 times, you start to understand and articulate differently than all the other realtors in your market who are going out and doing all the wrong things. Well, what does it take for me to get a listing, John? I'm with a bigger team. I'm with a better team. I'm with the red team. I'm with the blue team. I'm with the Remax. I'm with Keller Williams. I'm with the XP. I'm with whoever. They've heard all of it. Okay. And it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Okay. So these are so really powerful questions. And the bottom line is there's an enormous, enormous missed opportunity for realtors in new construction. So last couple things, and then we'll call it a wrap here today in just the next couple of minutes. But realtors, let's see, I think we already talked about that. Um, um, so from I want to flip back over to the buyer's perspective for just a second. And then we're going to talk about the actual number of realtors. How many realtors are doing new construction in your city and how can you find out and begin to step into that? Okay, so we'll wrap up with that. From a buyer's perspective as well, I forgot to say this earlier, realtors are discouraging buyers in a lot of cases from going after new construction because it does not benefit the realtor. So in a lot of cases, unfortunately, there are realtors that they're insecure about their role with new construction. They're not sure the value they provide. And so, or they've heard a bad story about a realtor with a builder or not getting a commission or some nonsense or something. And so rather than try to understand that, they just tell the buyer, I don't want to lose the buyer. But I think we need to get to a place where we've got the courage, and the I don't know what it is, the temerity, I guess, to if there's a buyer that wants to build new construction and a realtor does not want to do new construction, I should have the courage to refer that person out. Find a realtor who specializes in new construction. Here's the fact of the matter, though, that there are very, very few realtors that specialize in new construction, and buyers want to know and they want to work with a realtor that does. And so do the builders and the developers. And when you begin to do that, everything begins to change. Here's the actual number that I would say. Of everything that we've looked at in probably 25 different cities that we've studied the new construction solds on the MLS, so these are obviously, if it's on the MLS, it was one that went through a realtor. There was a realtor involved in one side or the other, or both, right? And when we study that and we study the buyer side, here's what the numbers look like. The number of realtors that specialize in new construction, city by city, is less than 1 in 1,000. Less than 1 in 1,000. That's the actual factual. Go look at the MLS in your market, and I can show you how to do it. It's not straightforward. You got to kind of massage the data in there to find what you're looking for. But when you do, it's like, oh my goodness, there's 19,000 realtors in my market, and less than 1 in 1,000 are doing more than one new home transactions a year. There's 20,000, but there's less than 20 that have figured this out and have got it. Okay. So my point being that the opportunity is it's incredibly large. Builders want to know, builders want to work with realtors who know their business and specialize in new construction, and so do buyers. So how do you begin? So let's wrap with this. First of all, you want to start meeting some builders. You want to start going and having some conversations with builders and with developers, especially small and mid-sized ones. Okay, it's a big difference. And as you get into new construction, you start to specialize. You probably find that there's one thing that you prefer. You love working with the small ones, or the mid-sized ones, or the large ones. And any one of those is okay, but they're completely different. If I talk to a small builder that does 10, 15 homes a year versus a builder that's doing 50, 60, 80, or 100 homes a year versus one that's doing thousands of homes a year, they have a different problem. They have a different set of problems. They have a different perspective on realtors. They have a different thing that they're looking for from you, a different type of relationship that they want to strike with a realtor. They have different things to keep them up at night. They have different competition. So, if I'm going from talking to Beazer or DR or Lennar or Toll Brothers to a mid-size to a small one, and then, all over the map, that's pretty broad. And you're better to figure out one bucket that you want to be in, or two, and focus on that and get to know that demographic of seller and that demographic of buyer. Okay. And when you do, your language and your conversation will begin to change very, very quickly. And after you've done it 5 or 10 times, the other realtors in your market are already behind you. You may not have the money to show for it yet, but the other realtors are very quickly falling in your rear view mirror, because most realtors do not understand this stuff. They're not pursuing it. So if you want to find more information about this, there are a couple things I'll throw out to you, and let's go ahead and wrap up with this. Let me see right here. That little scrolly thing at the bottom, there's a ebook that we did last year. It still is 100% true, and a series of 7 videos that go along with it that talk about all 7 of the buyer problems. There's also a little course that we do there called the Foundations course that goes through 8 hours of training just on how to how to learn your local market. And that's another big key step when you get started in new construction, is starting to identify five five numbers that you want to know, and you can find them very quickly. But you want to find five numbers that really none of the realtors know, these basic things. And when you start to do it, it changes everything. It changes the way you talk about it, the way you pursue it, the way you put your goals together and your business plan, and just everything about it. So that's a really good place to go and grab the ebook, watch the 7 videos. Don't just read the ebook, watch the videos that go along with it. And very quickly, you're going to start talking new construction in ways that other realtors aren't. Okay. So we'll wrap up with that. And if you don't know about Hoodle, which I hopefully everybody does here, but I know that there's some different groups that are watching this. If you don't know about Hoodle, you definitely need to go check out Hoodle at hoodle.com. It's something that you want to know about. It's something you want to be able to start talking about, because it's growing all over the United States. Builders want to know about it, developers want to know about it, and buyers absolutely want to know about it. And so you need to. Okay, if you're going to specialize in new construction, or even if you're not, you need to be able to understand that this is a new resource that is changing the way buyers think about new construction. So listen, my name is Ron Williams, and I am so delighted to be able to come and share this information with you guys today. I hope that you get something good out of it. I'm going to be back next Wednesday. We're going to talk about the 4th problem, which also has to do with realtors as well, but it's a little bit different. But the 4th problem that new construction buyers have when it comes to building a home, and something that we can change up in the way that we're approaching it, and not only add a lot of value, but get a lot of respect and get a lot more business and make money for yourself. So if you got something out of this today, I hope you take it and implement it, and hope you talk to somebody about it, invite somebody back to the group. And if you got any questions, anything you want to cuss or discuss, reach out to me. Just message me, okay? And we'll hop on a call, or we'll just message back and forth, or get on a Zoom call. But I want you to win. So, and you absolutely can. So thanks for being here today. If you give me your time, thank you so much. Hope you have an amazing week, and go out there and make it amazing for somebody else. So this is Ron. I'll see you next Wednesday. Hey, if you're an affiliate realtor, be sure to be on the call tomorrow. We got some great stuff to talk about on our Zoom call, and hope to see you there. So God bless everybody. Have a good week. Bye.